three-time Pro Bowler with the Dolphins in the 90s. He then won the Super Bowl with the Patriots in 2002, and he was the defensive line coach for the Falcons in their NFC Championship season. Bryan Cox, welcome to Undisputed.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate being here.
Good to have you.
You used to speak your mind on occasion, didn't you?
I still do.
This is my dog, B. Cox. As we both got old in the league, we started working out together in Atlanta. He had a home in Atlanta. I lived in Atlanta. And we work out. It was some, if they could hear those conversations, me and this young man.
see, the difference is he's a workout artist. I just did enough to stay in shape to hurt somebody. So that's the difference.
It's the only man I never paid back. He's with the Jets. They intercepted a pass. And I'm chasing. And he peels back, and I'm up in the air. I'm like, B. Cox, I know it's you. I'm going to get you. I didn't get him back because he ended up leaving. He went to, I think you went to New England, and then you went to New Orleans.
Yep.
But I still owe you.
Yeah, he caught you?
He caught me slipping.
He was cussing instantly before he hit the ground. B. Cox, I know it's you. I'm getting you. No, you ain't.
Well, Bryan, let's start with Dez Bryant. He was released by the Cowboys on Friday after 8 seasons in Dallas. After he was released, Dez tweeted that it was not his decision, and he called out a lot of people telling NFL Network that, quote, the Garrett guys are to blame. This was referring to the team captains, which include people like Dak Prescott, Jason Wynn, and Sean Lee. Bryan, was it the right move to cut Dez?
Absolutely. Absolutely. 800 yards don't equate to $16 million. It's that simple to me. And then secondly is, if they really wanted him, if Jerry Jones wanted him to stay there, why not ask him to take a pay cut? So was it the fact that he was stunning the growth of Dak Prescott? Was it the fact that the offense wasn't going through him anymore because he's lost a step? Something had to occur for them to make that move, but 800 yards don't equate to $16 million.
I think they decided that Dez would never be happy with the pay cut after he's scheduled to make whatever it was.
12 million base, 16 and a half against the cap.
But when you listen to it, though, he was saying they never even offered, so it was like he was almost going there with the anticipation that they was going to ask him to take a pay cut and he would accept.
Right.
So when that didn't happen, that means we don't want you.
Right. And that was the hard part. Because you remember now, the reporter asked him early in the season, Dez, if they ask you to take a pay cut, Dez like, hell no.
Right.
But see, then there's the realization
Right.
that they're going to ask me to take a pay cut. Dez, we know it wasn't your decision.
Right.
Because nobody says, okay, I want to give up $12.5 million to either be released or take a lower pay.
Right.
Yep.
But if it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense. And B. Cox, you hit the nail right on the head. His production didn't coincide with $12.5 million annually. Forget it, and I know people are going to say, well, who's going to have to replace him? They'll worry about that later. They can't pay him $12.5. The only problem that I have, B. Cox, the only problem that I have is that they should have handled this situation better. They knew they were going to release Dez. Let the man get an opportunity to go out in the free agency.
No. The difference is you have to let him come to the realization that the money won't be there when we make this decision if we let you go. Now, what team is going to pay Dez Bryant $12 million this season? None. So he's likely to make $5 million, $6 million, if anybody even bites, because his production went down so much from what he was as a prolific receiver to his, I don't know the guy, so I shouldn't say this, only from what I appear to have seen is, do you want to deal with a malcontent as well?
Right.
You know, because if he's not getting the ball, will he be happy? Will he be a role player somewhere? So that all comes into play. And one of the things about my situation getting fired is I've learned a new perspective. It's always to look from inside out as opposed to looking at what you did to me. Let's start with what my actions were.
Which is what you said earlier.
Yes.
Like, I'm going to prove to myself, right?
I still got it.
Yeah, I got you. So, two of the biggest personalities in the history of the league are sitting right there and right there, all right? I'm talking about forces of nature, both of them. Dez Bryant is a force of nature personality who just takes over a locker room. And he doesn't even try to do it. It just happens because he has a big nature about him, and he's volatile and emotional, wears every feeling on both sleeves. And you either buy completely into Dez Bryant or you don't. And you can't have him at $5 million next year when he knew in his heart of hearts he was scheduled to make 12.
Yeah.
Because he will make waves. he will make trouble. And I think he made a lot of trouble for this young quarterback. And I do think they finally decided he is stunning the growth of a Dak Prescott, because Dak Prescott threw a quarter of the passes last year to 88.
Right.
Because he's a reader of the defense. He's a progressions 1, 2, 3. And almost every time, especially his last 5, 6 games of the year, Dez is getting singled. 88 singled, and Dak's just saying, I got to throw it to 88. 88 led the league in drop passes. 88 couldn't separate from anybody anymore. Body betrayed him, body breaking down, lost his confidence, lost maybe 2 steps he didn't have in the first place. And Jerry Jones loves him to a fault, and I still think that it took Stephen Jones and maybe Jason Garrett to finally say, Jerry, you got to come around, come to your senses here, because he is hurting us from the inside out.
I think it's as simple as this. They love you when you can produce. When you can't produce, they don't love you. And that's fair. You know, as football players, we get paid to perform. And when that performance is not up to par, they cut you. If I play over my standards, I want you to give me a new contract.
And that's what I was saying. Because here's the thing. As a player, you played the game, B. Cox, and you were a coach. You know when they reduce your pay, they still expect you to make those plays like you were making that 12 and a half.
That's right.
Now, they just want to pay you less, but they still expect Dez to be 2014. So don't think, well, okay, we taking his pay down, he can slack off that production. No. They still want that number of plays. And that's the problem that I have is weighted so far in the team's favor. But they allow Dez to have 3 years, because you know they don't normally do that. No. They don't normally let you have 3 years of production slippage and still keep you at the same pace.
Production tolerance?
Yeah.
Well, I think they invested so much money in him when he first came out with his issues, and they wanted to make sure that he was right. But the thing that players have to understand is there'll be a new 88 next year, and everybody will be cheering for him, because
I'm not sure
at some point he's going to get production. Well, Mike Irvin wore it, so Dez got it, so somebody's going to wear it. Somebody's going to get it.
Skip, you see every morning I take a picture of my food, and the quote I used this morning is that I can sum up life in 3 words.
Post your food?
I post my food, and I can sum up life in 3 words, Skip. It goes on.
Oh.
Dez, the Cowboys are going to be just fine without you. You need to stop blaming Jason Garrett. Don't blame Jason Witten. Don't blame Dak Prescott. Okay, what did I do? Yeah. What role did that 700 yards play in me not being a Cowboy anymore? What role did 6 touchdowns play in me not being a Cowboy? If you want Julio Jones, you want Antonio Brown, you want Mike Evans' money, you got to give them those numbers.
Right.
It's simple.
So, this news right after our show was over, and we both, I have been pounding the table. You have to let him go. More trouble than he's worth. And I love Dez Bryant. In 2014, I'm a longtime Cowboy fan. It was one of the great years ever to root for players, especially this guy, because he was spectacular in 2014, and we both made a case. Might have been the best wide receiver in pro football. And you want to talk about slippage? It just went like this over, to your point, of 3 years. But he got to cash in off 2014, and he earned it, man.
Yeah, 2013 was a good year. I mean, he put up monster. He deserved the contract, but then all of a sudden, 15, 16, I've never seen it. I've never seen they allow a guy to have 3 years where his performance is declining, and they keep him at the exact same pace. Normally, 1 year, they looking at you sideways.
On the door.
2 years? Oh, they coming to get some of that money back.
So I always go after a show here to a gym I work out here in Los Angeles, and believe it or not, it is packed with Dallas Cowboy fans. And so I saw a bunch of them when I left the show on Friday. The news had just broken, and they were in funeral mode, man. They were saying, what are we going to do now? And they weren't with me about it'll be better without him. I told them it'll be better without Dez Bryant, because Dak will come. He'll grow a level. They'll spread the ball. They'll figure it out. Zeke will be more involved. Hopefully he stays eligible for all 16 games next year, stays healthy. And once you let Dak start spreading the ball, and they'll draft probably a couple of receivers, and they signed 2 that I don't love in the free agent market, but still, you just make it different. You don't be Dez dependent, because when you're Dez fixated, bad things were happening to the offense last year. It was too easy to defend.
Right. I think the other thing to go along with that, if you take on a superstar player as an organization, everybody else start to play their role. Because if it can happen to him, it sure as hell can happen to me.
So when
Yeah, good point.
Stephen Jones said they want to make the offense more Dak friendly, you can't have the offense Dak friendly if 88 is on the roster because he's too dominant of a voice.
He is.
He's too dominant of a figure.
Yeah.
So they're going to remake this team. They're going to remake it in Dak Prescott's image. It's going to be more him to his liking. And so he's not going to have somebody chirping in his ear, throw me the ball, throw me the ball. That's not how it's going to be.
And the other thing is, we're speaking all offensively right now, but they got to fix their defense.
Oh, yeah.
They got to get better. So, you know, everybody talked about last year, well, can Dallas be the same? Well, without Zeke, they weren't the same.
Right.
And then when Zeke came back, he never really got on track, so they weren't the same. But their defense is woeful. And that's the issue that got to be
except
handled.
for that linebacker named Sean Lee.
Yeah, but he ain't never healthy. So, I mean, you can't count on somebody that ain't out there.
I cannot defend that.
Yeah, see?
Can't argue.
Because, tell it be true, because
They should go to him and look at his contract, too, because he only plays about 8 games a year.
Well,
see?
when he plays, though, he is.
Yeah,
Really
Yeah,
good.
but you ain't there in the playoffs because you're hurt.
You got a year left in you?
Oh, I'm done.
No?
I'm done.
You sure?
I'm done.
You could get him back to the gym.
I'm done.
No, it was all I could to get him to show up at that time.
Has Bill Belichick lost control in New England? We'll discuss that next.